Today I'm going to show you that one small light and the DaVinci Resolve Relight effect is all you need to create real cinemagic. I'm going to show you how you can make something like this look like this in just a few minutes. So we're basically going to turn day into night in DaVinci Resolve. Now, I'm definitely not saying that it's okay to not pay attention to lighting on location and then fix it in post all the time. You should always try to get the best possible footage when filming it. But, you know, sometimes there's just no other way, right? For whatever reason. And so I want to show you with an extreme example what DaVinci Resolve Relight is capable of. And also all the different ways you can tweak it and use it. Okay, so, like I said, for my example, I went the extreme way. I turned a super bright daytime scene into a cozy evening light scene. And I used one small light for that. Well, actually two, but the second one is optional. So the first one is the Zhiyun Cinepeer CX100, 100 watts, which is not only super small, but also crazy bright. A lot brighter than my big and clunky Godox, for example. And look at the size difference. And brightness is definitely key here, because you want the light that you're using to overpower the natural light, the available light. So this is a super bright room, right? And let's say that we don't have anything else to control the light with. What I want to see then is that warm light on my face mimicking a lamp in the room, or even the evening sun coming through a window. And I'm using a real light for this because, well, no matter how good the Relight effect is, it has its limits. And something like that glow on my face, right? And how the light there interacts with my face on skin level, that's just not possible with Relight. So that's why I'm using a real light for that glow on my face. But because we're shooting in bright daylight, you have to make sure that it's powerful enough. So what I did is I set the color temperature of the light all the way to the warmest setting. So the lowest number, the lowest K number, and then the output to where it shows that glow clearly on my face without overexposing my face. And like I said, for my example, I also used a second light, but it's optional because I'm supposed to be playing a video game in this shot, right? So I also added this even smaller M20C. It's not as powerful as the CX100, but it's full RGB and it has all these effects built in. So it can mimic the light of a TV, for example. So I used this one to just add a little bit more atmosphere. Okay, and then once we have our footage, let's use DaVinci Resolve and Relight to turn the shot from daylight to evening light. I'll show you all the different steps and we're gonna keep it super simple. First of all, you can already tweak your image a bit, lower the exposure a bit, adjust the white balance to already make everything look a bit moodier. But the thing is, you can't make it look right by just lowering the exposure. That's the problem here. It still looks too flat if you do it like that. Now, you could actually create more depth by using masks and windows and then adjust all those areas separately in your scene. But the Relight effect can do it 10 times faster. So let's add the Relight effect. And just make sure that you add it correctly. Because you could add just one node, one extra node, and then drop the Relight effect. It will work, but you won't get the best results. So a better way is like this. Add 2 extra nodes, apply the Relight effect to each of these nodes, and then in the first node, check Output Surface Map, and then it will create a surface map. See? All these colors? For example, green means that that surface is facing upward. So it analyzes all the surfaces and where they're facing to. And then in the second one, set this to use input 2, and then rearrange them like this and connect them exactly like this. Okay, and then there you go. Now you can see the 3D relighting map preview in the second node. And you can select the light source and then adjust the lighting properties. And it's best to just play around with all these settings a bit to get an understanding of what they all do. But let me show you how you can affect and change the lighting. First of all, you adjust the lighting by selecting the second relight node and then adjusting the gain, gamma, and lift, or the curves. That also works. And the thing is, those adjustments that you'll do will only affect the white parts that you see in the map preview. And so the idea is that because it's created a realistic 3D map of how lighting behaves, it will look very natural. But of course, there are limits. But anyway, now, the thing is, a lot of people will use Relight to add light to a scene by increasing the gain or gamma, which works perfectly fine, of course. But sometimes, like in my example, lowering the gain or the gamma to add shadows works even better. You can pretty much use Relight to add negative fill that way, to create deeper shadows and more depth. So in my example, I added more shadow on my back because the light is coming from the front, right? So the white parts are on my back, and then instead of adding light, we'll lower the game. Make sure to uncheck the map preview so you can see your image, and then lower the gain and gamma wheels. See? Now you're creating more shadow. And what we can also do, because what we're doing basically is just color grading in a mask, right? But in this case, a mask based on a realistic relighting map. But it's no different than color grading using the depth map or magic mask even. So what we can also do is change the color temperature of either the shadows or the light. So I can make my newly created shadows here a bit cooler, so that it creates a nice color contrast with the warm light. And all of this allows you to fairly easy relight a scene very, very drastically. But like I said in the beginning, keep it subtle. In most cases, just keep it subtle. I'm using an extreme example here to, show you what it can do. Okay, now what makes this effect even more powerful is that, like every other effect in DaVinci Resolve, you can also combine it with other effects. Depth map or magic mask, for example. Let's do magic mask. So let's say I want to relight just me and not the background. Well, then just add a node here and connect it like this to the input. Create your mask in that node, magic mask, track it, and once you have your mask, connect it like this to the first relight node. And now relight will only be applied to that magic mask. And it's the same with depth map, or if you add a power window. And that's how you can completely change the lighting in a scene. And by combining the relight effect with magic mask or depth map, you can also avoid these halos that you sometimes get. You can avoid those by relighting the subject and the background separately. But again, don't rely on fixing everything in post, because even though these effects are getting crazy good, if you would put a properly lit scene, the same scene properly lit and then lit with the relight effect in post, if you put those two scenes side by side, of course the properly lit scene will look better and more natural. Okay, now all of that already makes Relight super impressive, right? But we can take it a step further even. We can also use the original properly exposed image to relight our day to night image even more realistically, by adding some fake lights or other light sources. So, this is what we have right now. This is our basic relight node setup. This is how we turn day into night or evening. And what I'm going to do now is right click on the last node here and add a layer node. And Resolve will add a new node and a layer mixer. Now, if you don't know how layer nodes work, I'll link a video in the description, but the basic idea is that everything you do in a lower layer node will be layered on top of the higher ones. So it's basically like Photoshop layers. But the only thing I'm going to change here now is, instead of connecting this layer node to this node here, connect it to the input here. Because I want to use the original image as input, not this darkened image. Now it's going to use the log footage, so in this first node here, I'm going to apply a color transform so that our footage looks normal. But of course it depends on whether or not you're using log footage. Okay, and now we only see this original image, right? The properly exposed one. And that's because all this here will be layered on top of this node string. But if we add another node now, and we apply the relight effect there, again, relight is nothing more than a mask, right? Then it will show that top image, that properly exposed image, only through the white parts of the relight map, right? Because it's like a mask. And so look, we can now light the scene super realistically. Look at the couch, how it gets lit. It looks super realistic. If I go down here, the top of the couch is dark. Look, it's so cool. And we don't have to use the color wheels now because we're using that original image to light the scene, that properly lit image. So we can add a lot more light. And we can add a fake lamp, for example. Let's say there's a lamp here, right? So I'll put the point light source of the relight node here. Yeah, just tweak it however you want. And then I'm gonna add a PNG image of a light bulb, so without a background. And we're gonna layer it on top of the other two node strings. So right click on the layer mixer and add a third input. See? And then add a second node here after the PNG and connect them like this. The blue connection is there so that the background of the PNG doesn't turn black. See, if I don't connect it, the background is black. And now, of course, we also want to move the lamp, so look for the transform effect here and drop it on the lamp node. And now you can move and scale the lamp. Put it wherever you want it. And then, the cherry on top, let's turn on the lamp, because, yeah, it doesn't look right now. So add another node and look for the lens flare effect. And then go for the MRI flare here and make it, yeah, yellow, a yellowish warm color, and put it on the lamp. And the background will turn black again. That's because we didn't connect the blue alpha input and output here. So connect it and boom. It looks like the lamp is on. But the only problem is that it looks like the light is trapped inside the lamp, right? It doesn't glow. That's because of these alpha connections, these blue connections. And because the transparent background of the PNG. But that's fine. The easiest way to solve that is by just copying the flare node and pasting it here after the layer mixer. So we basically put a second flare on top of it. And there you go, it glows. And of course it needs a bit more tweaking and fine tuning. And even my version that I showed you at the beginning can use some more fine tuning. But if your computer can handle it, because that will be your biggest problem, if your computer can handle it, it's almost like magic. It's so cool. So try it out and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the background. I guess I'll see you in the background.